Rashmoni, about differences between amantadine and amantadine ER. So amantadine ER, or extended release amantadine, comes in two preparation. There is one called Gocovri, which is an extended release amantadine, and the other one is called Osmolex ER, and they have different mechanisms. So Osmolex ER is more of granules that are slightly coated to make it release slowly and last longer. And Osmolex ER is actually now bought by the same company that has Gocovri. I think it's Adamas that has Gocovri, and they bought the Osmolex ER. But I asked them, why you bought it? What's your plan? You already have Gocovri as an extended release, and they weren't sure either. So Gocovri is different, is unique design. The way Gocovri is designed, that the granules have thick outer coating with some secondary layer with some punctured hole mechanism. It's a very, very unique kind of a coating mechanism, which is different than a typical simple coating which slowly dissolves. This one actually has multiple different layers of coatings and has holes that form in a central coating, and that causes very slow release of the drug from inside. So there are some unique things about this amantadine ER. So for example, after taking the capsule, it typically takes about 6 hours for the drug to get absorbed in significant amount. So that's why the typical dosing of Gocovri ER or amantadine ER and Gocovri is at bedtime, 10 p.m. or so. And when you take it at 10 p.m., then typically it starts peaking around 4 a.m. and typically peaks at 6 a.m. In the morning. So, but if you take it in the morning, then it won't kick in until noon or early afternoon. So that's one thing to remember, that's important to take it at bedtime. The other major difference in amantadine and amantadine ER is the blood level that these drugs can reach. So in animal studies, if you measure the amantadine as nanograms per ml, in animal studies, the anti-dyskinetic effect of amantadine was seen at a serum level of above 1,000 nanogram per ml. And it probably peaked around 1,500 nanogram per ml. The problem with the amantadine IR is that if you just take one tablet once a day, then the level barely reaches 500 or 600 nanogram per ml, even at its peak. And the peak is short lasting, and it goes up and then comes back down. The amantadine ER, if you take it 3 times a day or 300 milligram of amantadine IR, then you probably reach close to 900 or just above 900 nanogram per ml of peak level. And again, you have ups and downs based on the timing of the medication. And so it doesn't technically reach the 1,000 nanogram threshold for anti-dyskinetic effect, even with 3 tablets a day of amantadine IR. Now, Gocovri, the way it was studied, the dose used was 274 milligram of amantadine ER, or 2 capsules, 137 milligram of amantadine in each of the capsule. Now, 274 milligram, because it's absorbing more slowly and gradually, it absorbs more fully than regular IR amantadine. So technically, what I've been told is that Gocovri 2 capsule 274 milligram is equivalent to 350 milligram of IR amantadine. So about 3.5 tablets. So if you remember amantadine IR, you can technically go up to 400 milligram a day. But I've seen maybe only 2 or 3 patients that take it up to 400 milligram a day. Most patients cannot tolerate it at 300 milligram or higher. But so Gocovri ER, which is Gocovri, which is the amantadine ER, 274 milligram dose, which is the full standard dose, is equivalent to 3.5 tablets or 350 milligram of IR amantadine. But not only that, it's slightly more than the 300 milligram dose. The Gocovri reaches a serum level of close to 1,500 nanogram per ml at peak, which is typically 6 a.m. after taking a 10 p.m. dose. So it does reach that highest dose that has been shown to be the beneficial dose for dyskinesia, and that was intentionally designed, right? So this 274 milligram dose was not randomly picked. It was based on an animal studies that I'm quoting. All this data was looked at. Remember, the amantadine IR was an accidental treatment for Parkinson. The amantadine, there was a very large trial with, I think, 3,000 patients looking at influenza or flu to see if amantadine can decrease the duration of flu, but it failed that trial. There was no significant improvement in the days to recovery after getting a flu after starting amantadine. So amantadine was not very useful for it. However, there were some patients who had Parkinson's disease that went into that trial for the amantadine for flu, and they found that their tremors improved. I think there were 6 patients who reported an improvement in tremor or more. And that's what lead to physicians started using it off-label for not for flu, but for Parkinson's disease. And then it never actually had a trial in Parkinson's disease. So amantadine IR has never had a placebo-controlled trial on Parkinson's disease. The amantadine ER, Gocovri, was the first drug to actually have a placebo-controlled trial. And that's why a lot of this data came out from the development of Gocovri. When Gocovri was being developed, these questions was being asked that, is it really antidyskinetic? At what dose it's antidyskinetic? So all these animal studies were done as part of the Gocovri development to find what is the serum level for antidyskinesia and so on and so forth. So I listed 2 differences. One, amantadine ER has to be given at bedtime. Gocovri, Osmolex is not true that way. Gocovri has to be given at bedtime for it to peak in the morning. The peak is much higher than even 3 tablets of amantadine IR, and the equivalent dose of amantadine IR is 3.5 tablets equivalent to Gocovri. And then the last thing that I want to mention is that when we looked at the side effect profile, Gocovri was studied against placebo, not against amantadine IR, and that was intentional and probably required by FDA because amantadine IR never had a placebo trial, so we didn't know how good amantadine is, so you couldn't compare amantadine IR and ER together. So Gocovri was compared against placebo, and the result we found was that at full dose, which is 274 milligram or 3.5 tablet, the side effect profile was not bad. It was under age 65, the risk of hallucination was actually under age 75. The risk of hallucination was 10%, 1 in 10, while above age 75, the risk of hallucination was 20%, so 1 in 5, which is very similar to IR amantadine. But remember, IR amantadine, typically that data of 1 in 10, 10% risk of hallucination is for a low dose, 2 to 300 milligram of IR, while Gocovri was reaching up to 350 milligram equivalent of amantadine dosing. And that's why, in some sense, it's maybe slightly safer than IR amantadine, although technically that should not be the case because it reaches much higher serum level of 1500 nanogram per ml than even amantadine IR given 3 tablets a day. And then last point in this long spiel on amantadine is that after I got familiar with this data and realized that you need to have a high serum level to reach good antidyskinetic benefit, and realize that high serum level does not seem to have any correlation with hallucination. It's the total days or total dose given in a day that probably has a relationship with hallucination. So I changed how I give amantadine IR. If I'm giving amantadine 200 milligram a day, I do not divide it into a BID dosing. I give 200 milligram together in the morning at the same dose to try to reach a high peak to block the dyskinesia. And if I'm going to add a third dose, a third 100, I usually add it at 12 noon. So I say at around 8 or 9, take the 200 milligram, and then 3-4 hours later, as the level starts going down, take another 100 milligram of amantadine. So all 3 in the morning. And in my hope with that is that they achieve a better pharmacokinetics curve in the blood, and they have more amantadine, higher level, and more early in the morning and early afternoon when they have most of the dyskinesias. And then lastly, I believe, and I'm not sure on that, I believe that the lower the level at bedtime, then the less the risk of vivid dreams, which is a main side effect, even more common than hallucination, 2-3 times more common. So usually patients don't complain or stop amantadine due to hallucination. Most common reason to stop amantadine is confusion, and second most common is vivid dreams and usually nightmares. And in my personal experience and my personal bias is that if you give most of the amantadine early in the morning or around noontime and nothing after that, then by 8-9 p.m. the levels have gone down because it lasts 8 hours or so. And then they have much lower level going into the night, and that reduces the risks of vivid dreams in my personal opinion and experience. So that was my long long-winded summary of amantadine and amantadine IR and ER. And let me